Well, good morning, everybody. Just thought I'd pop on and just see how everybody's doing and stuff like that. And I just want to say thank you to the people that are subscribing to the channel again. Thank you for that, guys. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And I really hope that you guys enjoy the content that I'm giving you. For those of you who may be new, I am Robert Sandifer. This is the channel, name of my channel. I'm a blind content creator. So, but yeah, I mean, I've just been doing a lot of thinking lately. Some people say, if you think too much, it can get you in trouble. But when you think, you come up with a lot of questions, some answered. But I'm just, guys, I'm just very, very excited, to come on and just talk to you. And I was just in Filipina Elated's chat. Shout out to Filipina Elated. I was just in her chat and we were talking about some things, and I was telling her about when I was a younger man. I think I was like 18 or 19, and I was interested in this girl, but she didn't reciprocate the feelings that I had for her. She wasn't interested in me in a romantic way. And I kept pursuing her and she pulled away. And now that I'm 44, you know, you get older and you realize, that wasn't the best way to approach it. And I hate to say it, but some guys still never learn. They never learn. And as a guy, I can say that, some guys, they do not learn that it's improper to pursue a woman if she says no. If a woman says no, no means no. Period. Hey, Grunts Chuck. It feels like we get bounced around like a ping pong ball around here sometimes. Yeah, it does. It really does. I mean, you've got the situation with Eli versus or Tammy versus Eli, and I'm gonna give my thoughts on that. I'm gonna give my thoughts on that. And look, you know, I'm not going to discuss the legal aspects of it because number one, that's for a judge to decide. And that's right off the bat. On the 18th of March at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, they're going to be in court. And a judge will make a decision. A judge will make the decision. It's not going to be decided out here on YouTube. It's going to be decided in a court of law. And I'll admit it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting. But to continuously come out here and discuss it, I don't think personally, if I, I don't think it's a good idea because it should be for the court, not us on YouTube. Because number one, we don't have any bones in that fight. And number two, we don't know the whole situation. We don't know the whole story in terms of like what all the evidence is. Okay. So while I understand what Eli's trying to do by talking about it on YouTube, I don't think it's a good idea. I just something tells me it's not a good idea because while I understand that he may be a little upset, talking about the case like he was doing last night on that live stream potentially could give Tammy ammunition. And that's just common sense. I mean, that's not even that's common sense. Why do you think attorneys all the time tell their clients, don't post anything on social media. Don't say anything on social media because it could come back to bite you. I mean, that's like that's like my brother-in-law. He fell at an establishment and he's suing the establishment. He's suing the business because he was injured. And he got a letter in the mail from his attorney, and his attorney says in the letter, "Do not post anything about the case on social media. Do not talk about the case with anyone." Okay? So that's the first thing. Lawyers do tell people, "Don't talk about your case." Okay? Look, regardless what happens on the 18th, I'm still gonna be going on with my life. I mean, while I while I will be along with everybody else, wondering about the outcome, it's not going to be the end of the world, okay? Because look, while it's going to be interesting, a few months later, we're not gonna be talking about it. I mean, heck, none of us are really probably even gonna care. So, I mean, I it's one of those things where you're like, it's interesting, but at the same time, y you know, the people involved have to be careful, okay? If it'd been me, and I was in that situation, I wouldn't talk about the case because having a mother that was involved in the court system, being a paralegal herself, working for a judge, you hear things. And, she used to always tell me all the time, you know, people, some people, they think that by talking about their case, they're proving their case, but they're really hurting their case because the other side can use what they say against them. Now, I'm saying that because number one, it could happen. Now, I'm not going to give my thoughts about this particular case in terms of like what I think, who I think's going to win and who I think's not going to win. Okay. I mean, look, we know um, that Tammy Sue and Eli. Okay. That's what we know. I mean, anybody can go on the Odyssey portal on the San Mateo County website, go to the Public Odyssey portal, and type in Elias Mellis, and you can find the documents. They're all there. And so it is happening. It is going to move forward. But at the same time, I think we need to realize that, while this, like I said, while this is interesting, we need to realize we're just spectators. We're not involved. And we shouldn't get ourselves involved in it because it's not our business to try to give our opinions or our thoughts or whatever in terms of like who we want to win. I'm Team Eli or I'm Team Tammy. Okay, I have my own personal views on it, but it would be inappropriate to share them here because it's it just would not be appropriate to share them. Sometimes you have to keep your thoughts to yourself because not everybody's going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to share your views on everything. Feels like it's going to be a hot summer this year. Yep, it does. It was in the 70s in Pennsylvania and it's usually in the 30s. Yep. Well, even here, it's gotten like every day this month it's gotten into the 80s here in Florida. So, yeah, it's gonna be a hot summer. It's gonna be a hot one. He needs to be genuine more often because he changes his personality every 3 weeks. Uh, I mean, look, you know, he's he's his own person, and while I disagree with some of the things he says and some of the things he does, he's gonna do what he's gonna do to grow his channel and to get people to watch. Um, but the one thing that I do that like I said, that I personally feel needs to happen is that he shouldn't be talking about his case. so much on YouTube because, Tammy could use that against him. And that's just common sense. Like I said, I, when you have a mother working in the legal field as a paralegal for a judge in the morning and then a local attorney in the afternoon, you hear the law, uh, and all the new laws that are coming out, 24/7. So that was her job. That was my mom's job. She was a paralegal. She was a Florida um, paralegal and notary republic. So she was steeped in the law. There was some people that even encouraged her to attend law school, but she didn't have the desire to when she was a younger woman. But Tammy might not feel Eli's being well, again too, I can't go inside of Tammy's mind and tell you what she's thinking. Um, it's just one of those things. It will be someone else in 6 months. Well, like I said, it's one of those situations where you just have to listen and see what happens. You know, if the case gets thrown out, I doubt Eli gets any money except the court fees. Uh, I'm not going to comment on that because like I said, we really don't know all the ins and outs of it. Um, I, I mean, there's no telling what the judge will do. You know, that's why I'm saying it's not a good idea for him to be talking about it so much on YouTube because she could bring the videos up. You've been talking about the case. You've been streaming about the case. I mean, he could Tammy could bring it up and I mean, it's just one of those things. You have to be careful when you're in a situation like that because you don't know. You um it's just one of those things. You got to be careful. He's clearly engaging in the same thing Tammy is. It's interesting for sure. Yeah. Well, and like I said, um like I said, I have my own personal views on it, which I'm not going to um address publicly because it's not, it's inappropriate. But it's going to be interesting. But like I said, it'll be interesting on the 18th. But then 6, 7, 8 months from now, we may not be talking about this whole Eli versus or Tammy versus Eli thing, um, because it'll be old news. I mean, and this is not a shot at Eli. That I'm not taking jabs at Eli, but I feel that if he if he stopped talking about the case and just returned to life coaching, he would do himself a favor, because right now, by talking about it continuously, by talking about the case continuously, I I mean, just common sense. Like I said, Tammy could download those videos and bring them into court and say, "See, Your Honor, he's been talking about this case and he's not letting it go." I mean, she could do that. And I mean, she very well could do that. I'm not saying that that's what she will do, but I'm saying that she could do that. Um, and again, like I said, you know, Eli's his own person, and he's going to do what Eli's going to do. And while I personally disagree with him talking about the case constantly on YouTube, he's going to do what he's going to do. And I wish him the best of luck. I just don't feel that it's appropriate personally. It's not it's not a stance that I personally would have taken if I were in his situation, which thank God I'm not, because I'm not engaged in drama. I don't believe in drama. You know, I'm actually doing really well. I think now I do think that his 2 streams on forgiveness that he's put out, um, as somebody who has studied theology, who has a doctorate degree in theology, I I j I don't think he should have done that either. Um, for one thing, y y that's not even preaching, okay? As someone who's preached for 11 years, who actively preached for 11 years, and yes, a lot of my sermons were not recorded. They were not recorded. Um, but as someone who preached for 11 years, there's an art to it. You have to know how to do it a certain way if you're going to be effective. And in seminary, it's called homiletics. It's a fancy word for sermon preparation. You have to have a structure to what you're going to say. And you can't just get up there and free preach. It's not advisable. Um, or preach extemporaneously. Unless you know the subject matter really well. And it takes a lot of study. When you're doing a sermon, when you're preparing a sermon, you have to do a lot of research. You have to be able to put your sermon together in a way that is structurally sound. You know the bullet points that you want to get to, and you have to stick on topic. You have to stay on topic. Because what a lot of preachers do, especially the inexperienced ones, the ones that who have not been to school or who have not had any training, what they'll do is they'll start talking about a passage and they'll drift off into something else. So if you want to be an effective expositor, that's what we call um, preaching. It's another fancy word we use. If you want to be a good expositor, you need to be able to stay on topic and know your material that you're preaching from and know it well. Because if you don't know what you're preaching from well, people will know. People will know. And that's how I feel about that. You have to know, like when you're standing up there in the pulpit, whether you're Catholic, Baptist, whatever, you need to be able to know your material that you're going to be preaching on, because if you don't, um, it's not going to matter what you call yourself. Um, so when and I do understand Eli's reason for doing the streams on forgiveness, and like I said in one of my other videos, I understand his reasoning for wanting to do it, but yet at the same time, what I would caution is this: as someone who has a doctorate in theology and who understands this stuff, um, if you're going to preach, you need to structure structure your topic more. If you're going to preach the quote word of the Lord end quote, you need to know that Bible backward and forward, and you need to be able to know it well. You need to be reading it, you need to be jotting down notes and doing research, because people know, people, like I said, people know when you're preaching, they know if you know the material or not. They know if you know the material or not. So if you're going to be preaching on forgiveness, say, the topic of forgiveness, you need to know the scriptures about forgiveness. Um, and I like the scripture in Matthew chapter 18, uh, where it says, "How oft shall if my brother sins, how oft should I forgive him? Unto 7 times." And he replied and said, "I tell you not 7 times, but 77, uh, 77 times." And then he goes into the story about this king who is going to throw this dude in prison, and he kneels down and begs him for forgiveness, and the king forgives him. But then the dude goes out and finds another guy that owes him money, and he has the dude thrown into prison. Well, when the king found out about it, he called him back and said, "Hey, man, I forgave you all this debt. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant?" And he goes, "All right, take this guy and put him in the inner prison and hand him over to the unto the tormentors until he pays the entire debt." So see, what that is telling us is that if you don't forgive other people for wronging you, then God is going to look at that and be like, "Pff, well, they don't want to forgive? Okay, then I can't forgive them of their sins because they're choosing not to forgive." Now, just because somebody forgives you does not mean that there are not consequences to your actions. And I've said that before. And yes, God is mercy. There is mercy. And but yet at the same time, if you do something, there's always a consequence. And sometimes it's a good consequence. Sometimes, the person might be like, "Okay, I forgive you. Everything's cool. Go on your merry way." But sometimes, it's I forgive like let's say if you go to a store and you break a window and the store owner says, "I forgive you, but you're going to have to pay for the window." That's a consequence. So I do believe that yes, you can be forgiven, but there are consequences. And I think that that's part of it. I think that's part of it. You know, um, it might not always happen that someone will be required to pay or whatever, but it could happen. I mean, yeah. I mean, let's just put it this way. Eli could forgive Tammy, Tammy could forgive Eli, but there's still a suit there. There's still a suit there. So you have to, just because somebody forgives you or just because you forgive somebody does not mean that there aren't going to be consequences for your actions. And so what I'm saying is really be genuine. If you ask for forgiveness from someone, I would say show that you're genuine by making an effort to change your ways, to change the way you act, to change your attitude, to change the way your outlook toward this person or people who have hurt you, you know. And I'll be honest, was I mad when Eli was talking about the Filipina P? Yes, I was. I was upset. But I've moved past it because number one, it's not worth getting mad over. It's not worth being upset over. The Filipina P didn't get upset about it, so why should I? Now, was it wrong for Eli to discuss the Filipina P on his channel the way he did? Personally, I believe it was because he's never watched her content. He's never really understood what her content's about. And I believe he made a premature judgment. Now, at the same time, you know, um, Would Filipina be right to be upset at Eli for talking about her and bashing her on it on his channel? Yeah. But she did nothing. She didn't go to his channel, she didn't leave him a comment or anything like that. She just kept doing her content. I don't even know if she really knew what Eli was saying. But see, that's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is, okay, I forgive you and move on. You know, say what you're going to say, or, just say, look, I forgive you, and then move on. Move on from it. Anyway, guys, I hope you like the content. I hope you like what I had to put out today. And again, I want to make this perfectly clear. This is not a personal attack on Eli or Tammy or anything like that. I just think that we need to wait and listen to what's being said in the case. Now, I don't think the case itself will be live streamed, but it's best for us to just let the courts handle this because we're not the court system. We're just a bunch of people out here on YouTube hearing what's going on and what's being talked about. Okay. And frankly, you know, it's really none of our business. It's really none of our business. But, it is interesting. And, people, like I said, people are going to have their views on it and they're going to say what they want to say and everything like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, Tammy's and Eli's case is not going to take away from the fact that I have a meeting on the 18th. I have a Actually, I have a class on it's a course on the 18th. So I have to take a course on the 18th. And so I'm going to be busy that day. I probably won't know what happened until later on that evening, if anything. So I guess what I'm saying is I'll be living my life. I'm not going to be in that course thinking, "Ooh, I wonder what's going on with Eli and Tammy." No, I'll be concentrating on that course that I'm taking. It's a leadership course because I'm an athlete leader for Special Olympics. So we have to take two courses. We have to take one on the 18th of March, and then we have to take the second one on the 25th of March. And they're two introductory courses that we have to take, and then we'll be officially recognized as athlete leaders. And basically, what we do is, just as the title suggests, we are leaders in our communities, um, the region, because Special Olympics Florida is divided up into regions. So our region is Region 6. So, but I'll get into that in another video. But just suffice it to say this, you know, like I told Eli, I'm not going to bring up the whole blind faggot thing anymore. It's not worth bringing up. It's not worth rehashing. And I'm going to just thank Eli for um, being cool and not talking about me and in a negative way. and I haven't talked about him in a negative way. I just think that, you know, like I said, I w you know, I I personally would avoid talking about the case on YouTube. I mean, that's just me. I know he's gonna do what he's gonna do, but, you know, I would just steer away from talking about the case anymore and just return to life coaching. That's my personal opinion. Um, and he can disagree with it. Um, he doesn't have to he doesn't have to agree with me, and I understand his motivation behind it, but it's just not something I would personally do. The entire world is in chaos with people fighting and killing each other. Exactly. You're right about that, Grundstruck. Change for real. Exactly. I think we have times we're all caught in sin and we have to fight to get back to God. Well, it's every second of every day is a struggle. And if you mess up, the Bible does say that in 1 John 2:9 that if we sin, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous. So um, we just go to God and we say, Lord, I messed up. Forgive me. But at the same time, we have to be willing to forgive others. And honestly, I think that's the reason why a lot of people used to call me a flip flopper because I'm very forgiving of people and I give people the benefit of the doubt a lot. And sometimes, like, sometimes even my own family will be like, RJ, don't be so quick to just invite people back into your circle because they're going to turn on you again. And so I'm having to basically teach myself, yes, forgive this person, but let this person know that you will not be taken advantage of anymore. You're not going to be treated unfairly any longer. Mike Tyson is fighting Jake Paul. It was just announced. Jake Paul is a part of the WWE, isn't he? Oh, oh, okay. So now Jake Paul's going into boxing apparently. Okay. I try getting along with everyone. Exactly. I do that too. Yeah, and see, and that's the thing, because like I don't I don't like confrontation. I don't like getting into confrontation, but when I do, like, and some people have said this, I can be an attack dog. Like I will, and even Eli used to say that, and I think he still says it sometimes, but I used to go for 2 or 3 hours just I mean, I would be so mad, like, "You blah blah," just, like, screaming at the top of my lungs and stuff, because you know, I would just be going after Eli hard. because of something he may have said or something he may have done. And that's where I get the name Demon Preacher because I would get so mad that I would just fire up alive. I mean, you know what I mean. I'd fire up alive and just start going after the guy. And now it's like I don't even want to do that no more. That's why I'm working so hard to get back to who I really am. You know, I mean, it's not who I am. I don't like to have confrontation with anybody. I try getting along with everyone, but I don't like seeing people wish death on each other. Yeah, that's messed up. It's gotten vicious. Yep, it sure has. It's. I think it's getting to a point where people, and it's not just the online world either. It's people like world leaders, leaders in our own nation, even. Um, it's getting to a point now where it's like it's not even like it was when I was a kid. Like when I was a kid growing up, kids did not talk about politics. Especially in my family, we didn't. I don't ever remember hearing my dad talk about politics at supper. And I was taught by my mom that your voting for someone is between you and the ballot box. That's it. You and the ballot box. And I would say you and your just I would say in my own life, me and God, that's it. And I'll have people ask me, "Well, RJ, who'd you vote for?" And I will not answer them. Now, if it's close family, like my immediate family, we'll talk about who we're going to vote for in private. But that's one thing I will not do in public. I will not talk about who I'm going to vote for in the 2024 election because it's not appropriate. And I'll say this, it feels like to me that it's not like 2016. There's something different about this time. I think that people are it just feel it just feels different. It just feels different. Um I feel a sense of peace about this year. I don't know why. I just feel that there's a peace about this. And I feel it getting stronger. I just there's not a lot of vitriol this time around. I mean, that's just how I feel about that. I just there's just something different about 2024 than 2016. And to be honest with you, I like it because it's better. It's better. I think we're better suited this time for what's going on, and that's how I feel. So, I want to thank you, Grunge Truck, for being here, man. I appreciate that. Um, I'm hoping to get a smartphone very soon so I can start doing shorts and stuff. So, guys, if you like my content, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell for all notifications. Talk to y'all later. Thanks for being here.